It wasn't a great time to be a Bond fan in the early 90s. Legal disputes had meant a record 6 years of waiting between films. That might not seem long with the regular hiatuses of the 21st century, but back then it was unheard of. Licence to Kill has now rightly been reappraised as a classic by many, but back then it was seen as too violent and underperformed at the box office. There was real worry that audiences would have moved on from Bond by the mid-90s. Cubby's health was ailing, and it felt like the end of an era. Thankfully, the background disputes were eventually resolved, and it was time for Barbara and Michael to come to the fore and bring 007 to the next generation. By now, the old team of John Glenn, John Barry, Caroline Bliss and Robert Brown had all been moved on, and Timothy Dalton eventually left the project too. There was little time to get things right, but thankfully they already had a replacement Bond in mind. Pierce Brosnan had been cruelly denied the chance to play the role in 1986 because of contractual disputes, but he was now the perfect age to fit the dinner jacket and move the franchise forward. His unveiling in 1994 just felt right, and his appointment had no opposition, unlike his successor. Martin Campbell proved to be an inspired choice for director, breathing new life into the world of Bond, but also maintaining the things we all love about it. There would be beautiful women, larger-than-life villains, fast cars, gadgets, big action set-pieces, and Desmond Llewellyn remained as Q. A neat plot involving flashbacks to 1986 resulted in perhaps the most personal villain's motive to date, something that every subsequent film would draw on. Beginning with one of the greatest stunts in the series, this was a real crowd-pleaser. GoldenEye features perhaps the most memorable cast of them all, including Boris Grishenko and General Oromov. We were given an unforgettable henchman in the aptly named Xenia Onatop, using her thighs to crush her victims, and one of the most resourceful Bond girls in computer programmer Natalia Simonova. The new MI6 crew gave us Michael Kitchen as Bill Tanner, another aptly named actress, Samantha Bond as Miss Moneypenny, and Dame Judi Dench as the first female M. Robbie Coltrane and Jodon Baker, who was in his second role in the franchise, created fantastic allies, who would both return in future instalments. Sean Bean was seemingly killed off in the pre-title sequence, but teaser trailers revealed that he would come out of the shadows to turn the world upside down. Eric Serra was the offbeat choice to provide the score, perhaps the only aspect of the film which receives regular ridicule, not helped by Eric crooning out the closing track, The Experience of Love. Don't worry, lots of us do love both the song and the music. But this is only one bone of contention in an otherwise perfect return for James Bond. Pierce eased into the role and ensured the films would continue into the new millennium. We gathered together to discuss why we love the film so much, and as ever, we want to thank you guys for contributing with your positive thoughts. 30 years ago, there or thereabouts, one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion, was released, and I saw it at the cinema and it changed my world, basically. And it made me from a massive Bond fan into a geek Bond fan, I suppose. And it's and the love has grown, if anything, since then in the 30 years. I can't believe it's that long. But anyway, we're here to celebrate the 30th anniversary of GoldenEye, the first Pierce Brosnan Bond, the first Bond for 6 years at the time, which is, you know, that's normal, isn't it now? That's probably quite short in between Bond films, but at the time, felt like an age. So we're going to go over the real highlights of the film, go through what we love about it and when we first saw it. And we've got loads of guests tonight. Obviously, it's a film that's loved by nearly all Bond fans, so everyone wanted in and wanted to tell us how much they love it. And we've got other people who you'll hear across the episode sending in their thoughts. But on the live bit, I suppose, from the podcast ourselves, we've got John, first of all. Good evening, John.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you.
And we've got Math. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Right, I'll start with Steve, because Steve's been on the podcast many times, looking very smart. How's it going, sir?
Going very well, and when you texted me about GoldenEye, there's absolutely no way I could not come on this one because what a film. I mean, I've been on podcasts with you talking about Bond films that I care a lot less about. So to come on talking about love as much as this is a real pleasure.
Yeah, I think at the time of release, the Quantum review won't quite be out yet, Steve. It did.
Yeah.
Slightly depressing 20-hour listen, that, I think.
Well, hopefully it's actually a fun listen.
Yeah.
It's a little bit depressing.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a celebration tonight, so it's all positive. We're all going to be positive. Yes, right. I've also got with me Vicky. Now, Vicky, if you don't know her, she's from 007GB, but she's also got her own YouTube channel, The Bond Room Unlocked. So great to have you finally on the show, Vicky. Great to see you tonight.
Hi, yes, thanks for having me. GoldenEye, well, what can I say? The reason I do what I do now is because of this film. I watched this, 30 years ago at the cinema, saw it 4 times that week on release, obsessed with Pierce Brosnan before he was James Bond, obsessed with Pierce Brosnan way after he was become James Bond. It's just an amazing film for me, and it's my 3rd favourite film.
You've got your own YouTube channel, haven't you?
Yeah, I got the Bond Room Unlocked Facebook page and YouTube channel, which is all to do with merchandise because that is my bag. I have a Bond room that is 30 years old. My husband very kindly let me have a room to put all of this merchandise in, and his Star Trek collection is to one shelf. So,
John does like Bond, though, doesn't he? He comes to all the events, doesn't he? So
yeah, he does. And he's watched them all through, and he's ranked them. Casino Royale being his favourite.
Okay, we'll forgive him that. No. No, great to see Vicky. And in terms of 007GB, what's your role on that board?
I am VIP manager, so I tend to deal with the special guests that we get, make sure all the guests that we actually get arrive, as you know, are okay, as well as I also deal with the merchandise side of things. Particularly at the last event that we had at Q Lab, I was in charge of the merchandise store there, which was great because that's my area. So yeah.
No,
We play on our strengths.
Yeah, there was loads of stuff there, incredible. And if you're just listening to this behind Vicky, could you just describe what you've got there?
Yeah, so this is from 30 years ago when I went to the cinema in where I lived, and I asked them if I could have this when the film had, run its course. And they let me have this. They let me have a hanging mobile, which unfortunately has perished now in 30 years, and a number of other things. And that's what started the collection off. So this was the very first thing that I had. And this is a double-sided vinyl GoldenEye poster. And it's floor to ceiling.
So good, isn't it? That absolutely brilliant. Well, one man I know who was certainly at that event was Bobak, and can't believe you've not been on the show, Bobak, but welcome.
I know, I'm excited to be here for the first one, and it's such a great film. I didn't watch it in the cinema when I was a kid, but Pierce Brosnan's my childhood Bond, so I've always got some sort of affection towards him. And I remember, as a kid, my dad would always let me stay up at night just to watch James Bond, and we'd always watch Pierce Brosnan over and over again. GoldenEye, being probably the best one out of the bunch.
Bobak's on Instagram, Bond Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Yeah. Another of these names, they're brilliant, aren't they?
Thank you.
What made you choose that?
They're not as good as your name.
Well, I don't know whether people quite get it. It is meant to be the Q quote. But anyway.
Well, we get it.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah. That's taken a back seat, though, isn't it, a bit? Because you've got your own car channel now, haven't you?
Yeah, it's called Bobby Talks Cars. I'm trying to get more into sort of just cars because that's a passion of mine. And funnily enough, I'm actually writing an article for a car magazine, and it's going to feature a lot of the cars from James Bond as part of that article. So watch the space, including the BMW Z3.
Oh,
yeah,
an underrated car, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. And we will go into that. And I don't want anyone to complain too much that we didn't see the missiles, but anyway. Brilliant, right. And Sean, great to see you, Sean. Obviously, we've met a few times now, been over to Ireland, always having a great laugh. And we've had massive chats about GoldenEye and Brosnan, and
Yeah.
if you don't know Sean, Sean's obsessed. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for inviting me on to the chat. Yes, Sean O'Hare here. I'm with James Bond Club Ireland, and I'm a massive Pierce Brosnan fan, as hopefully you probably will know, or you know after this discussion anyway. But I come into the film slightly differently. I get into James Bond through the GoldenEye computer game, which
Right.
I have right here. So that's how I get into Bond, realizing, oh, there's a film to do with this, and the rest is history. Love the film, can't wait to get talking about it, and Pierce Brosnan is James Bond.
Yeah, how good.
Absolutely.
Well said.
The Irish fan club, you guys pretty much, Brosnan's your man, isn't he? I know Paul loves Connery too, which is great.
Yeah.
But the fact that Pierce is from the Emerald Isle it's quite incredible, isn't it, really? We don't really perhaps make enough of that. It's brilliant.
Very lucky to have an Irish James Bond. The guy's funny, Paul would be Connery, Andy's Roger, Kev, Connery, Roger, but we all have a fondness for Pierce Brosnan. We were very lucky at the start of this year for the 30th anniversary to go to Pierce Brosnan's hometown in Navan and watch the film on the big screen, and we've done a bit of a tour of his hometown. John Gagan, who's also a member of James Bond Club Ireland, took us around, showed us a few spots. So very fortunate and a bit surreal, to be honest, to watch a Bond film in Pierce Brosnan's hometown. But yeah, look, we love Brosnan. We'll celebrate everything to do with our connections with James Bond in Ireland. So yeah, we love it, and I'm really honoured to be invited onto the chat. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely fantastic. I suppose we could start with that actually to say, Sean, you got into it because of the video game, and that the amount of people on Twitter that used to have a go at GoldenEye because they were like, oh, it's people only like it because it's the video game and all that. Like, no, what? A, that's nonsense, but B, how good is it that it brought loads of people to James Bond?
Yeah, 100% for me, and I know for a lot of other people, just chatting to people online and going to sort of meetups now, the amount of people that it was a gateway for me to get into James Bond, and that's really, I would love it if Amazon get involved in that now for our younger generation and get the computer games going again. It's a great way. It's a great way for people to interact, never mind play the game and get into knowing a film. But for me, it opened my eyes. I'd seen James Bond on TV before, but that connection just got me hooked. And then obviously Tomorrow Never Dies was out at the time the game came out, but you realise then, oh, there's a film to do with the game, and then that got me into that, and I was hooked. It's the gun barrel just catches you, and Brosnan's performance, the gun barrel, I think it's the number one gun barrel. I know I'm biased, but I think just the way he carries himself and he turns, and yeah. That got us off, and that dam jump is unbelievable. It's huge, it's mad. But the game planted a lot of seeds, so you knew what was coming as well. But even just like the moving through it, like the freshness, the action, like Brosnan was born to play Bond, to be truthfully honest with you. So yeah, love it. And again, the film has so many positives, so many pluses, and it is a reboot to a certain extent. But we have a new Bond. There's a lot right in this, as you were saying, Tom, earlier. They had 6 years of a hiatus. They were coming off the back of License to Kill. Didn't go as well in America, and there was a lot of pressure. Was Bond even going to be relevant in the 90s? Obviously, with the end of the Cold War and the fall of the Berlin Wall. But what a show they produced. Big shout out just straight away to Martin Campbell, who was at the helm. Great job he did. Obviously did another fantastic job come Casino Royale, but he was the man that brought Bond back to the big screen. And look, what a film, what a start. I'm sure you're going to get into a lot of this now, Tom, but that pre-titles is one of the best. One of the best. The jump alone, like even just the camera pan over the top of the dam, you realise how high it is from both perspectives of the plane going up and also of Bond's perspective. Oh, yes, excellent. What an opening. What an opening.
As made famous in Road to a Million, the second.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sort of
very quick snippets, but yeah, it is very quick. Yeah, but brilliant.
John, I presume you were too young, were you, to see this at the cinema?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't a Bond fan when this came out. I came a Bond fan in 99, very early 99. I became a Bond fan when I was like 11-year old. This, so I come at GoldenEye from a different perspective. I don't come at it from the looking at the reboot or anything of that. The first ever Brosnan film I watched was Tomorrow Never Dies. It was one of the first ever Bond films we had on video. But then I remember we got GoldenEye the next Christmas with the game. So it was like the game and the film were synonymous. Like into the whole of my experience of GoldenEye growing up was the two together. And I never forget that Christmas all the way through New Year, it was watch the film, play the game, me and my brother. And I would say that this is the film that both me and my brother, my middle brother David, this is the film we bonded over more than any other film, I'd say. Like because of how much we played the game together and then we watched it. From the first time I ever watched it, one of my very, very favorite Bond films. And to this day is one of my very, very favorite Bond films. Will never change. There is things that I see now that I didn't see then that I think, wow, like how ridiculously good is this film? There are idiosyncrasies about this film that, people like to rag on certain aspects, because they like to pick apart. Wouldn't change anything. Genuinely would not change a single film thing about this film. It's an incredible film. It captures a moment in time. I do believe that it's the most. It's pretty obvious because of the times, but even the film, even the hair, even the styles, really captures early to mid '90s in a such a brilliant way, and yet still feels modern and relevant to this day. I don't understand how it does that, but there's also a timeless feel as well as the fact that it's an early '90s feel. It's class, pure class from start to finish.
Goodness me, this is so exciting already, and we will be explain why even the music by Eric Serra is brilliant. So we'll discuss that later. Bobat, can you remember when you first saw it? Again, you weren't born, I'm assuming. When this
was I born? I was one.
you were one, okay.
So I was actually born. I'm trying to think back to my first memory of it. I think it was basically ITV reruns at the middle of the night when I was a little kid with my dad, and I think my dad, his childhood Bond was Sean Connery and Roger Moore, but something about Pierce Brosnan I think kind of amalgamated both of them. So I think he really liked Pierce Brosnan as well. So it just kind of felt natural just to, well, not that we just focused on Pierce Brosnan's films, but it kind of felt natural to watch those, and I don't know, just start to finish, you're not bored, and I don't think there's any necessarily any fat, if that makes sense. You can't trim anything off. It all fits. Each scene actually works. Scenes aren't just in there for no reason, just to fill a gap. Great stunts. Pierce Brosnan, my God, does he look good? The Q scene, it's just the jump from the dam, the jump to catch the plane, then Tina Turner's song kicks in. A great cast of villains, I think. You've got General Oromov, you've got Xenia Onatop, you've got Alec Trevelyan, and I like the dichotomy of all of them and how Bond sort of has to deal with them, if that makes sense. We see M, as a female for the first time, Judi Dench. That scene between the two of them when Bond first comes, I think first meets her in the film, and before he goes off to try and catch Alec Trevelyan or General Oromov or whatever. I just like that, dynamic between them, and yet M still has that sort of loving, supportive emotion towards Bond. I don't know, I just think it's a great film. I can't really think of any reason why I would critique it. It's quite difficult.
But we don't want you to. That's
Oh, good.
no, fantastic. Now, Steve, you may have explained on the podcast before, but you've got a very good connection to the film, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I was invited to the cast and crew premiere of it at Leicester Square, and I'd become a Bond fan. Well, proper Bond fan in '89 with License to Kill when I'd snuck in 2 years too young with with my mum, to be fair, and that was the film where I walked out the cinema and I thought I was James Bond and I was hiding behind lampposts and whatnot. So I was a big fan, and of course you then had this 6 year wait, and as you said, Tom, you these days, I mean, God, you'd be blown with 6 years. Yeah, exactly. But if you think, well, I'm 49 now, so the difference between me being 43 and 49 is the blink of an eye. But the difference between 13 and 19 years old is an absolute lifetime.
Yeah.
This new film finally came out. It was thrilling, but also, and it wasn't because I'm on the telly that I got invited to this premiere, because back then I was a little known. I'm not sure I was on TV at all. I got my first show around that time, but it was because my girlfriend at the time was working in the models unit with Derek Meddings, and her family were involved with the film industry. They were working on the tank chase scene and other bits and pieces. And they knew, obviously, I was a huge Bond fan. And they'd invite me up to the set, amazingly, because I've been up to done a day's work on Judge Dredd. But I actually said no, because I just didn't want to spoil this thing. I wanted to go and see it. But yeah, they got me to the cast and crew premiere, and I've got a film. I should have brought it in, but I've got a GoldenEye film crew jacket and all that kind of thing from the time on it. So yeah, I was so lucky. I don't take that for granted at all. And I remember I really couldn't breathe for about the first minute. I just held my breath because I was so tense, so excited, and also it had to kind of. I love Timothy Dalton, as everybody knows, and he had become my Bond in '89, and of course then I'd also loved The Living Daylights. So I wasn't that pleased that we had a new Bond, because I really wanted that third Dalton film. So Brosnan had a job to do to convince me, and by the end of it, I walked out and I just thought he was born to play James Bond. I mean, he absolutely nails it. I think he's better in this film than any other of his Bond films. Probably, I think, because he works with such a good director in Martin Campbell, who captures nuances so well. It's easy to think about the big stuff this film does well, the tank chase and the bungee jump, all that kind of thing, which he does really well. But I think what Martin Campbell is so good at is capturing nuances, little moments. A bullet goes astray and you just see Brosnan flinch. He captures those little moments, and I think he does that so well, and it brings people and characters to life in the middle of all this huge explosive film. And yeah, I mean, I just echo what everyone else has said. It is absolutely fantastic. I went to cinema. I then went to see it 2 more times at the cinema then, and I've probably seen it 30 to 50 times now. And I went back to the cinema when it was re-released. I do, with time, notice little things that, because you can pick fault with anything, can't you? And I have noticed one really little quirk, which shows you I've seen it too many times. Do you want me to reveal that now?
Yeah, no, go on while you remember.
Has ever noticed this? And I only saw this when I saw it at the cinema again. For its re-release, so that must be probably the 40th or 50th time I've seen it. So I'm going to sound like such a geek here, guys. So when one of the two Russian MiGs crashes near the start of the film and it explodes, they hit each other and one of them just explodes full screen, big explosion, looks fantastic. Derek Meddings' work. At the other end of the film, almost 2 hours later, when the GoldenEye satellite burns up in the atmosphere and it explodes, it is the same explosion. First explosion, second, and you can see it's the same debris, the same bits and pieces.
Wow.
So there you go. That is a sign I need to stop watching this film.
No, you
But
don't.
for the absolute geeks, they're like, "Oh my word, this is the breaking news. This has changed my life." Because when, like we always say when we're talking about A View to a Kill, there's often criticism because you can see the stuntmen and all this, but at the time you don't pause the TV. You couldn't do that in the 80s. So with this, I think it shows that just how breathless the film is and how well made it is. That you just, even today, people can't tell these little things. So yeah, that's superb, Steve.
Good evening, hey Tom, hey really 007 Bond fans. GoldenEye, 30 years of GoldenEye, wow. What a film. It might be my favourite Pierce Brosnan film, to be honest. Tomorrow Never Dies, I mean, I do enjoy that, but seeing GoldenEye last Saturday night, it did paint a better picture for me, to be honest, but I'll have to go back and watch Tomorrow Never Dies to make my final decision. I did say in a previous review that it looked old, and I still stand by that, but doesn't look as old as it is, if that makes sense. There's lots of things that make it really good. Sean Bean as the villain. He starts off as the ally and then obviously is killed and then becomes the villain. That's done really well. I like the finale as well on the satellite. That's really done well. Xenia, what a henchwoman. She makes herself known with the thighs, of course. Arumov, I like him. Hold your fire, blow the gas tanks and all that. Yeah, he's good. He does it well, being the inside man, and then gets found out and has to relate to drinking to get over what he's done. Boris as well with computers. I'm not really sure how they intercept Boris. He somehow goes outside and then he's working for Yanis, if you like. Zukovsky as well. What a man. I like Zukovsky. It's good they brought him back for The World's Not Enough. In this one, they left the window open. He might have been in the previous film or book. Brought him back because he's very resourceful. He's useful. Bond needs him to complete the mission, if you like. Natalia, I like her. What a Bond girl she is. Maybe not experienced in most departments, but sort of picks things up quickly. Is able to find where the signal is so they can carry on the rest of the mission. Without her, Bond would be stuck. This film also brings the introduction of M, Tanner and Moneypenny, like after the Roger Moore era, if you like. So basically clean slate. And it's done really well. Moneypenny, when she's like not standing for his remarks about and everything like that. Tanner in the room, thinks he can get away with Sam, whatever, and then M appears behind his back and does the old this, and then it's clear that she has authority and won't be messed with, as well as misogynistic dinosaur comments as well. Pleased to see Q back as well. It's pretty much the same. He hasn't changed. I guess that was the only thing they kept from the previous films. The music in this film, I mean, it's very controversial, but I do like it. It stood the test of time. That intro with the gun barrel and the big bong 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 drums. I mean, I don't know if David Arnold was in the picture for this at all, or if John Barry was going to make it come. I'm not really sure what was going on at the time, but I'm glad that Sarah has only got this soundtrack and not many more, because if we did more, it would have been sort of the same, I guess. So that stood the test of time for me. But yeah, if I haven't mentioned it already, I love GoldenEye. It's just one that I can stick on and I don't have to worry about being annoyed. It just goes really well, and I'm never going to get bored of GoldenEye, to be honest.
We chatted to actor Pavel Douglas, who played the French Warship Captain, and he told us what a pleasure it was to work with Pierce Brosnan.
It was wonderful. I was greatly chuffed to spend a week in Monte Carlo.
Well, I mean, if you're going to choose a Bondian place to be, that's the place to be, isn't it? You know,
absolutely.
An extravagant setting on the front with like a party, a big helicopter, sunny skies. It's everything you want from a James Bond film.
I'll tell you a very funny story about that. I was actually walking down the docks one day, and with someone I knew. It was a French voiceover who was down there, and he goes, Pavel, have you got? Do you have a yacht in Monte Carlo? I said, oh, I wish. He said, oh, you should get yourself a nice big yacht. I said, well, actually, for the moment, I have one. And he goes, which one? And I pointed to the warship, and I said, that one there.
Brilliant, absolutely great. That's fantastic. So you were on Monte Carlo. You were on a set for about a week, did you say?
Yeah, it's about a week. Yep. It was the principal photography had only just started. Those are the first scenes that were filmed.
Oh, right, of the whole film.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
There had been nothing before that. After France, it moved back to England, back to Leavesden, where they built the set of St. Petersburg. You know, for the tank sequence, because they couldn't have that happening in the streets of St. Petersburg. It wouldn't, the infrastructure wouldn't take it, apparently, but they built all that and all the canals and the rest of it. That was the first week of filming, and it was very lovely. I flew out on we had a chartered plane. We all flew out on chartered plane together. And I'll let you have this story. It's worth telling. A friend of mine had worked with Pierce many years before, when they were much younger, which was straight out of drama school, I think. And when he heard that I got the part, he said, oh, you must give Pierce a message from me. And I said, yeah, of course I will. I said, depending on the message. He said, no, you've got to give Pierce the message. So, and I wonder if I can let you. Yeah, I'll tell you the message. The message was, congratulations for getting Bond. Really, really sad to hear about Cassie, his wife who had died previously. And dare I say, you're a fucking lucky Irish bastard. And I said, I can't say that to the leading man of them. He said, you've got to. You've got to, otherwise we're not friends anymore. So I was on the plane, and Pierce came on and walked down, and he walked past me with Sean, his son, and they sat in the seats behind me. And I thought, is this the moment? Do I turn around and say, I've got a message from Peter? And I thought, no, I can't do it here. Then we got to Cannes, and we got off the plane, and we were getting our luggage off the carousel. And even if you're a film star, you have to get your own luggage. It's the law, somebody else can't claim your bag. So I was standing beside Piers, we're waiting for our luggage. And I thought to myself, is this the moment? I asked tell them, no, this is not the right moment either. And the luggage came round, and his was virtually the last bag to come off, because I have no idea. Anyway, he got his bag, and he said, have you got your bags yet? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, oh dear, I hope they come soon. And as it happens, they'd lost my luggage. We went to the hotel, stayed at the hotel, and we had a lunch that day, the day of arrival in Cannes. We had a lunch down on the docks in Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Where everybody was going to be introduced to everybody else. And Pierce came round and was shaking everyone's hand. And he came to me, and I said, oh, I've got a message from your dear friend Peter. And he said, oh, I didn't say Peter. I said, I've got a message for you from someone you used to know. That's right. And he said, oh, I can't just now. I'm a bit busy, but I'll see you in a bit. And after lunch, you tell me the message. So we had lunch, and then he came over and he said, right, what? He said, who's the message from? I said, no, first of all, the message. He said, all right. I said, congratulations on getting the Bond. Really, really sorry to hear about Cassie, and you're a fucking lucky Irish bastard. And he railed for a moment. He said, who said that? And when I gave him the name of the person who said it, he said, oh my God, Peter, I love Peter. He's one of my greatest friends. He said, I tell you what, I'll see you later in the bar.
Oh,
that was lovely. As it happened, my luggage was very late in arriving, and I was stuck in my room in the clothes that I'd arrived in. But they eventually turned up, and so I changed, and I went down into the foyer to meet everybody else and hopefully have dinner. And I got down there, and it was empty. Everyone had gone, and I thought, okay, Billy No Mates, here we go. Who do I don't know anyone to call. I know, I'm here in Monte Carlo. I tell you what, I'll just have another drink, and I'll have room service bring something to my room. So I'm sitting there cradling my drink when I will become aware of a body come slipping in, sitting on the seat next to me. And I look over, and it's Pierce.
Oh.
I said, hello, what are you doing here? He said, oh, they put me into some really stuffy hotel up the road. I hated it there. He says, I wanted to be down here with you guys. So he said, I came down here, but everyone's gone except you. I said, yeah, they've all gone. He says, so what are you doing? I said, I have no idea. He said, do you want to come out for dinner? I said, I'd love to.
Oh.
So we went, got in his car, and then we spent the next few evenings together, going around to the casino in Monte Carlo, where as we walked in, there was a pianist sitting in the dark, just furgling away any old tunes. And as soon as out of the corner of his eye, as soon as he saw Pierce walk, he just segued straight into dun 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 dun.
Oh my word!
And then I remember one evening we left a restaurant, and some girls spotted him. And before you knew it, there were about 20, 30 girls all screaming, running. And we had to run away. And we got to the car, and Brian the driver, he couldn't open the doors. He couldn't open the doors on this big Mercedes. And then finally they opened, and we piled in. And all the little girls were pressed against the glass like that. I said, now, Pierce, you must know what it's like to be one of the Beatles.
Oh, my word. You sure they weren't for you, Pavel? No.
Oh, they may have been. I doubt it very much.
That's incredible. I mean, it's just so great to hear stories of Pierce. Everybody we speak to talks about what a down-to-earth man he is, and
oh, totally. I mean, even some weeks later, when he was still he was filming in Leavesden, and I was back at my flat with I was single that time with my young children. And my son, I was in the kitchen cooking dinner. And my son came running through to the kitchen. He goes, Dad, it's James Bond on the phone. And I went, oh, don't be so silly. He said, no, don't, honestly, Dad, it's James Bond on the phone. So I went through, picked up the phone. I said, and it was Pierce. And I said, hello. He said, I just wanted to check in and say how things were and how you're doing. I said, well, how are you doing? He said, oh, I don't know. They keep, I think he made it very plain about this about Judi Dench. She was as scared as he was. This was their first Bond together.
Yeah.
And I said, what's the matter? Are you having a case of the Emperor's new acting? And he said, absolutely. I'm actually imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm good enough for this. I said, you are handsome, you are fabulous, you are funny, and it's going to be a cracking show. And it was.
It was superb. Oh, yeah. What an amazing story.
Pierce embodied so much of that early Bond. The very not such a big sense of humor as Roger Moore, not those silly throwaway lines, but he still had some lovely little jokes. Just that little moment when he's in the tank and he just adjusts his tie. Just tiny little moments like that were lovely, and he looks great on screen. I mean, he looked fantastic in that. In the Speedos and in all that sort of stuff. He was really, really good looking guy.
You did an absolutely brilliant job. And obviously you've got this Tiger helicopter. I mean, I have to show you this. I spent 3 months building this last year.
You are indeed.
I got like a Revel set and it came with all these little plastic bits and I had to stick it together and paint it. And so to be talking to Mr. Tiger Helicopter is
fabulous.
This is brilliant.
I'm honored. Thank you.
That's fantastic.
What you are about to see in operation is Europe's answer to the electronic battlefield. The first working prototype of the Tiger helicopter. Uniquely maneuverable, the Tiger not only uses stealth technology, it is the only helicopter to be hardened against all forms of electronic interference, radio jamming, and electromagnetic radiation.
Pierce as Bond. Now, Vicky, you said you knew him before. You were aware of him before. So were you happy then when he was appointed?
Absolutely. I am very much a 90s girl in terms of films. A lot of people rave on about the 80s, but I am sort of the period between sort of 90 to 97. Even in terms of music, I am very much a dance. I love dance music, so that's my era. And when this film came out, I was 20, giving my age away, and so I was absolutely, just really happy that he got the part, because I was a real big fan before, seeing him playing this part which he was born to play and should have played it much earlier. But I think his time was correct by doing 95 as opposed to earlier on when he would have, done the part before Dalton. I think it was the right time for him. The film is a joy. It just makes me smile every time I watch it, from start to finish. It's an absolute cracker of a film, and there are a lot of people who do have downers on it and downers on Brosnan, but I would choose Brosnan over Daniel Craig any day.
We didn't ask Vicky to say that, by the way.
I'm quite
Thank
happy
you,
to
Vicky.
say that. I'm quite happy to say that. I want to come out of a Bond film feeling, he's won the day, not what we got in No Time to Die.
Oh, dear me. Math, when we were growing up, we had them all on video, didn't we? So that was how we were introduced to Bond. But the fact that there was an actual new film being made and coming out of the cinema was massive, wasn't it? And Pierce was the man.
Oh my word! So much, like the rest of you guys, so much joy and so many happy memories to do with this time and with this film. Yeah. So growing up, we watched the film so much on video. I was obviously relatively young, so in some ways, I didn't know that you could make a new Bond film. I thought that was, you'd had the Bond films and that was it. And then, it was announced there's going to be a new Bond film, and this guy who I didn't really know, but you've sort of seen a bit of him on the news or something like that, was going to be Bond. And I remember learning that it was going to be called GoldenEye, and there was a link to Ian Fleming and stuff. Yeah, the first time I tried to go and see it, Tom. So you went for your birthday. So that would have been what, your 13th birthday with Rob Parker and Leesy, Daniel Lees. And you guys were just raving about it when you came back. I was like, oh, I really want to see it, but I was 10 and it was a 12. And it, in those days it wasn't 12A, it was 12. You had to be 12. Yeah. I think a few weeks later, must have been after Christmas, we went to try and watch it. And Dad, being the very honest Christian gentleman that he is, they asked like, how old is he? And he was like, 10. Is that all right? He was like, no, sorry. So we went to watch Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. Had a brilliant time. But then
one of the greatest films of all time.
Yeah. The next time we did the trick of, I think we got the tickets in advance and then just walked in, snuck in.
Didn't ask. Didn't even ask.
No. And me and you watched it then, Tom.
Did we get late though?
Yeah, a little bit late. It was just running along the dam as so I didn't see the gun barrel pickups and lateness. Dear me.
Unforgivable.
Anyway, just seeing it was unbelievable, and I think I've grown to appreciate Pierce more and more. But I think I did really like him, and I could appreciate that this guy, clearly had so much of him that was Bond, and he without, I know he was so good at taking something from everyone and maybe a bit new and everything, but almost effortlessly Bond. Incredible debut, incredible performance from Pierce, and what an amazing film.
I know Vicky sort of compared Pierce to Daniel Craig then, but the thing I've sort of come to sort of think of that not many people mention is, of course, I'd say Daniel was the only one who had a sort of not a great reception as to his casting. Mm-hmm. And of course, most people say, oh, well, when they saw Casino Royale, they were all wowed over. But, not everyone, but the point was that everyone was wowed over with the casting of Pierce. I can't remember anyone like, what? Because, even just to look at him, if you've never seen him in anything, that if you could draw Bond or do AI Bond, that's probably what would come out, isn't it? Because it's just incredible. And then in that teaser trailer, we've actually interviewed the editor of it and the composers of it. That's got to be one of the greatest introductions to a new Bond you'll ever get, even before you've seen the film. So I think that sent excitement levels to another level.
You were expecting someone else? Foreplay. Name's Bond. James Bond.
We had the pleasure of chatting to Parodi Fair, who composed the amazing music for that teaser trailer.
GoldenEye was like, we want to bring Bond back, we want him to be modern, but we want to nod to the past as well. Please do something.
So how much of the film had been shot? Had most of it been filmed by then?
We hadn't seen any of it.
Oh, right, okay.
We saw none of it. We went to lunch with Joe Nimzicki, who was the vice president of marketing at the time. And, he said, I've got, he invited us to lunch, and, it's
always a good sign.
Not typically what happens.
It is, yeah.
It's either a really good thing or a really bad thing. We're sitting there in this beautiful West Side bistro, in fact, what's his name? The coach of the LA Lakers was sitting a table or two.
Oh, really? Phil Jackson?
Yeah, Phil Jackson. Yeah. Joe looked at us and he says, I've got some great news for you. We're bringing Bond back, and we want you guys to update the theme.
Right.
And he said basically the things that you said. You got it has to be something brand new, but it still has to have the bones of the original. And we have to revive this wonderful tale, and we have to do it with something brand new. And so he just let us go. He just said, go, put your ideas down, and then send it to us, and we'll work with that.
I think we did 2 versions. The first version had a little bit more of the slower part in the beginning.
Yeah, like when Pierce is walking up towards the letters and all that. Yeah.
Well, none of the picture was done. So we did.
No.
It was all before there was picture. They cut the picture to the music.
Yeah, they cut the picture to the music. So we did the music completely, got it all signed off on by, MGM, and then they cut the picture to that.
Oh, right. Okay. So goodness me, that's amazing how they've done that then, isn't it? Because there's there's 2 sections to it, isn't there? There's obviously the main section with the Bond theme.
3.
Oh, 3. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You've got that intro with the sort of what instrument's that's being played?
So that's really a great question, and it's very unusual because we didn't want to have synthesizers at the beginning, but we wanted to create this
a pad, a mysterious.
It is
mysterious texture.
Material, isn't it? Yeah.
But something that moved, and changed, over time. Yeah.
So it's all guitars. That
Is
whole
it?
thing. So it's Peter Maunu who worked with me on the Arsenio Hall show. We stood next to each other for 6 years. He's just amazing.
Amazing.
And it was just at the beginning of when people were starting to talk about looping. People weren't looping yet. And he was one of the innovators of guitar loops and stuff, and he had been getting into it, and he brought over, what was it, a jam man?
A jam man, yeah.
A jam man. And we just started saying, let's just come up with some textures. And so, we just had him playing different notes, and we mixed them all together, but, we got snippets of all these textures that we created with him through the jam man, and it's all guitars.
Wow. Did you only know that Pierce was Bond? Is that about it? And you knew that what had gone before?
Yeah.
Yes, we knew what had gone before, and we knew that Pierce was Bond. And we were hoping that there was going to be some, there had been mention of some larger actors playing the villains and stuff as well. And I probably shouldn't say anything about that stuff.
I know that Anthony Hopkins was possibly going to play a villain in...
You said it, I didn't.
Oh, no. Oh, I thought that was Tomorrow Never Dies. Okay, right. So he was in consideration for GoldenEye, was he?
That's what we heard.
Oh, okay. Sean Bean was a great villain, so...
Yeah. And I mean, we were just so excited to work on it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing theme, and to have a chance to play with it and come up with ideas and stuff was just,
I can't be part of that legacy.
Yeah. I had such tremendous respect for the theme, and I knew the theme well, and I of course knew the legacy and was just completely thrilled to work on it.
Plus, you were so young, and there'd been that 6-year gap.
We didn't, and I think also, I mean, nobody knew how good the how good the relaunch of it was going to be.
Yeah, of course.
With the Bond theme, we were so excited to work on it, and we were really excited when we saw the cut, but we didn't know, none of us knew how it was going to be received. Yeah. So when it was received so well,
audiences were going crazy.
We were so excited because
you go to the cinema just to see that trailer.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, it was really a thrill to know that people were responding to it, and that we did, hopefully did it justice, or what we wanted to.
Yeah.
Really, a lot. We wanted to do it justice.
It really did change how people approached action trailers from that point out. We would go to meetings at, in different editors' bays for different projects, and they'd pull up something, I'm probably not at liberty to say, but other spy action stuff, and they'd start playing their trailer, and it'd all be cut to GoldenEye.
Yes, yeah.
Just make it work like this.
Yeah.
Russell Harnden III was the editor for that incredible trailer, and we had a great chat with him about the making of it.
All of a sudden, we get word, and this is obviously GoldenEye had been years in the making. There's a 6 or 7 period lull where we all know what happened then. I'm not going to go into it. And it was time to bring Bond back. And so there was a lot of planning to come up with that wonderful special shoot where Pierce comes out and shoots the letters and they come flying at us. And, you talk about how technology has changed. I mean, I remember the company that did those graphics, RGBLA. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but talk about old school CGI.
Yeah.
So I got on the project by nature of being the in-house editor. And I kind of came into it a little bit later because I don't know if they were doing cuts in over at Pinewood when they're cutting the movie or not, but it all started, and that's when I met some of my dearest friends now, Jeff and Star, Parodi Fair. That's where I met them on this project while they were redoing the Bond theme, and it was just so exciting to being loving the Bond movies, and then being able to finally work on one, and not only that, but to work on bringing Bond back, because we were actually working on something that we didn't know at the moment was going to change the way motion picture advertising was done and would continue to be done. And that was, looking back on it, we're like, okay, yeah, this is like super, super groundbreaking. And so that's basically how I got involved in the project.
So exciting. And so what sort of stuff are you given? Are you given the footage of Pierce, and are you given the script, and then you've got to put it all together with the music as well, obviously?
Right. Well, that's with a normal, I shouldn't say normal, with a regular trailer or teaser. And I should also delineate too, we don't even call them teasers anymore. Technically, the GoldenEye teaser, which is, this multi-award winning, piece of advertising, we don't even call them teasers anymore. They're like trailer 1, trailer 2, or trailer A, trailer B, etc. I normally would get a script and start going through and structuring a trailer. With this, of course, we had a special shoot script, which is where Pierce comes out. That's a graphic thing. He walks up and says, you expecting someone else, which is one of the most brilliant, simple lines of writing I've ever encountered in trailer and motion picture advertising. So, as you know, or are familiar with the teaser, there is no script. It was just a matter of putting together images and dialogue. And so we got a cut of the film, and this is interesting. I believe I'm correct in saying this, that GoldenEye was actually the last Bond film editorially to be cut on film. It was not cut non-linear,
right?
To my knowledge, because I remember getting in 3/4-inch tapes that we had to digitize into the Avid system, and just seeing splice marks at each cut. I'm like, okay, well, this is cut on film. There's no way this is done non-linear. And at that time, Avid was one of the only options, unless you use this other non-linear editing system called Lightworks, which is now, I think, gone. But so we get the film in from overseas, from Eon, digitize it, and then I was getting incarnations of Jeff and Star's music. So they're doing a lot of demos, trying to keep the rhythm, trying to establish a rhythm, and then orchestration would come later. So I started cutting not with a simple click track, but with various demos from their music, and just throwing shots in. And it got at one point kind of random, because again, I love my story background, but I'm like, we're not trying to tell a story here. So it's all tantalizing. It's all like, I always say there are 3 main components of any Bond advertising campaign. It's cars, sex, and explosions.
Well, yeah. That's what got me involved. For goodness me.
If you don't have those, you ain't got a Bond movie.
Yeah.
So I figured, let's go and obviously make sure we pepper all that in with, and of course, a little bit of story when you're doing a longer length trailer is always good. So I just started throwing in shots and to this music, and let's throw in, I forgot which line it is. I should have watched it, actually. It's like, I forgot what the line is. It's like, that depends on your definition of safe sex. I mean,
yes,
that's the line from Pierce. I forgot the line that comes before it, but
yeah, hang on, I'll remember it when I'm thinking properly.
But just little punctuations of like little dialogue, and then
no more foreplay.
No more foreplay. That's what it was. Oh my goodness, I must have used the other line in the trailer. Again, it's been a long time, and when you use so many, it's hard to remember. And yeah, so I'm rambling here, of course, but no, basically I started throwing in these great shots, and the other cool thing about that trailer is one of the reasons it's groundbreaking is the fact that I developed this editing technique. Jeff and Starr told me later that whether I was doing it consciously or not, I'm pretty subconsciously, I was cutting in triplets, which is basically a musical term for a succession of three. So if you listen to the track on the trailer, I was cutting to that rhythm. And then what I started doing, and I think you're cutting in nonlinear with Avid, you've got multiple video tracks, and you got to put little clips on top of each other. And at one point I threw a clip that I wanted in the sequence on top of another shot, but the clip was too short. And so the same shot that was underneath that clip came out the other side. So this shot A, we go to B and back to shot A again. I'm like,
right.
Oh, this intercut's kind of cool. Okay. And so I started developing this technique in relation to the music, not throughout, but it's called this intercut technique that we came up with. And that's really that and the music is what makes that trailer. I mean,
the explosions and the drums going together and the shots and the blackouts.
And I've had many interns over the years, a lot from my alma mater, but many other interns from other film schools. And they always ask me, I'm so involved in my major of film and television or what have you, digital media, what other courses should I take? And I always say, take a music class, take a basic music course. Because what is editing? Editing's rhythm. It's visual and audio composition. What is music? It's audio composition. And you get a really good, play an instrument, learn piano. I used to play saxophone and piano, not very well, but I tried. And it just gives you this inner sense of timing, and that's what makes that trailer. It's 55 seconds of just like, whoa. And I do now remember seeing about a week ago, kind of getting ready for this for this interview, and I'm like thinking, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah, there's no sort of like criticism of his casting, was there? And he delivered more than anyone could ever dream of, I think.
Yeah, no, totally. And I know looking back and like getting more involved in the film and doing more research, and you sort of read up on a lot of stuff, the public wanted him. It was there like a slam dunk. They did do screen tests with other actors, but it was always Brosnan's to lose. So whenever he probably agreed and signed the dotted line, I think that the general public were more than accepting of him. So that probably helped in terms of the new film coming out. But as you say, the likes of the teaser trailer, you expecting somebody else, like that's all just amazing. They have it off to a T. They've done it so well. People were ready for the film. I know you see online in different places maybe the full trailer give away a lot of the story, but I don't see it like that. I just see it as they're planting seeds. They're directing people, you gotta come and see this. Bond is back. It's gonna be bombastic. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be real. Let's go. So the Brosnan, obviously, as I was saying, probably was the public choice, but that just got more and more people involved, and people were ready for Bond. Like a lot of it, I think at the time they were saying, is Bond relevant? Is it now for the 90s? Is he done? Is he finished? Like, it just shows you people wanted to see this. People are ready for it, and that started off Brosnan's sort of every 2 years for the next number of years we got a Bond film, and people were busting to see it. Like, I remember when Down All Day came out, this was the $1 billion Bond. Brosnan had made $1 billion with his films so far. People were lapping it up. Like, probably Down All Day was the highest grossing, but it all started with GoldenEye. So yeah, people were ready for it, and they were off to. They got a treat. They got a treat of a film.
Golden era. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, dear. That's it for part 1 of our GoldenEye 30th anniversary celebration episodes. But keep watching for part 2.